They say I walk like a king, talk like a king. You can act around now, say the same thing. They chasing the fame, they all want the name, but they ain't got what's running through these veins. Make way for the king.
Guys, back here with you, back for another Proud Panthers podcast. Thanks for joining us today. We had some time again where the players were away for a break, and normally we put these podcasts out twice a week. So I've stretched this one all the way down to releasing on Friday just to get people in the rhythm. We usually release on Mondays and Fridays. So this is your Friday edition of the Proud Panthers podcast. Guys are back on campus now with really the student body also trying to move into High Point over the course of this weekend. But it's good that everybody had a chance to step away for a little bit of time. Some of the guys, including one of the ones we're talking about today on the podcast and talking with, actually, didn't take tons of time off. He was part of a crew that I also admire. They took time to go out to Arizona, put in a little bit of workout and practice time with somebody out there that, from all things I asked the guys, very well known in the space of doing workouts and working out players, more professional guys, I think, even than collegiate ones. So I think that was a really cool opportunity for them to get out there and continue working on the craft, even though, technically speaking, they were supposed to be on a break from the remaining summer basketball stretch before the fall semester got here. So the guy, though, that I'm alluding to that we're going to talk about here and actually be joined on this podcast is CJ Brown. Yes, we do have Cam Fletcher upcoming, by the way. Today, I'm actually en route to spend some time hanging out with Cam. So as one of the other returners, I know that would be a question people would have is, are you going to be able to have Cam join the show? Yes. Just stay tuned. Also, I don't want to forget a couple other things before we really take a full look at CJ Brown and have him joining us. We have Dynasty Dan the Man, athletic director of High Point University, Dan Hauser, that's going to be hanging out with us, where we get kind of a state of the athletics department, but also his thoughts as the men's basketball season approaches. I don't want to tip off the full conversation, but I feel like I may have asked him one of the most curious questions I've had with regards to how he came about contacting and aligning with Wyatt Faust, who's now the women's basketball coach. So those things to come. Another little change, and we actually tipped everybody off on the Proud Panthers podcast sooner than maybe other places, but we now have moved under a bigger umbrella called the Triad Talk Network. My day gig of hosting a couple of different radio programs, Monday through Friday, a show called The Daily Pulse, 7 to 9, if you've never hung out with us there. And you can hear it throughout the Triad area on 93.7 FM, on 104.9 FM, some other signals as well. But also Waking Up Proud, a Saturday show from 9 to 11, same signals. That's a part of this Triad Talk Network that High Point University, I'm excited to announce they've partnered up, and we're going to do some really cool stuff. We're going to do coaches shows. We're going to do some tailgate remote broadcasts. We'll be out at the Street Fest that's yet to come, actually, again this year in October, where we go downtown High Point and set up a full-on basketball court right there in the intersection. I mean, I think it's a really cool event for the past 2 years that I've been out there at that. So just go ahead and get over to triadtalknetwork.com. You can check out the High Point Panthers affiliate page. It'll have things like this podcast, even be a part of it. Subscribe, set notifications, turn them on, and all the other things that we're going to have going on. Hopefully we'll be able to share those with you too. But back on task today, CJ Brown and I were able to hang out for the first time. A guy that's coming over from a South Florida team, which you'll hear in our conversation I allude to, but this is a team that won 25 games last year. You know, CJ has to have a sense in and of himself of resiliency. And anybody that's been through, I'll probably take the stance, there may not be another player in college basketball other than CJ and maybe a handful of his teammates that have been through the start to his career that he's had. At South Florida, if you're not as familiar there with their program, his initial head coach his freshman year passed away unexpectedly during the season. Our own Ben Fletcher stepped in admirably and did a great job as the interim, leading and picking up things for that program for the remainder of that 2024 season. And if that wasn't enough of difficulty to start off your college basketball career, then you get a new head coach that comes into the team for your sophomore season, and he's only there at South Florida for 1 year. He went and took a gig up in Providence. So the guys that were a part of CJ's team here, and CJ stuck and stayed for the first year, changing over to a new head coach, there's some resiliency there. I mean, that needs to be said. But CJ found himself, I think, obviously, given all of that, to having an opportunity to relink with a familiar face. And like I said, that's Ben Fletcher. We asked him about that in our upcoming conversation, the idea of being able to reconnect, having some familiarity in the game nowadays is really more bizarre than it is common. So now at High Point, what we've been able to grab is a guy that at South Florida in a Conference USA team that had a lot of success really the past 2 years, given all the circumstances. He's been integral, been from his freshman season playing 22 minutes. A year ago, upped by another 4 minutes. Performing at a level that in a Conference USA competitive environment sets him up to come to the Big South and High Point. I don't really want to consider it like a step down. That doesn't sound right. But Conference USA jump to the Big South jump, you would like to think things for CJ would be somewhat comfortable in conference play. Now at High Point here this year, and part of my conversation with Dan Hauser I alluded to already, we've done a great job of setting up a non-conference schedule that's going to be as competitive, as difficult, as intriguing as what CJ's had anywhere he's played. So what I sense is things set up for CJ to come to a spot that's a little bit more stable. He's got some friendly guidance, a mentor, somebody he is close with already. And hey, by the way, you'll hear in our conversation, he's also got another teammate that he's got a little bit of background with as well. So that's upcoming. But before we get to the full-blown conversation, the other element to a guy like CJ Brown is that our High Point program has become such a key developer of, I'll say, point guard and shooting guard, your main ball handlers play. Go back when Flynn Clayman entered the scene at High Point and just follow the course of what guards we've had on the roster during this time. And this will actually be something that reemerges with a guy like Trey Pearson as well, who's jumping into our High Point team as a freshman. Point guard, 4-star recruit. If you are a guard, I feel like you got to look at High Point and under, again, the leadership of Coach Clayman, you got to look at that and be like, okay, they've got something set up right there that leads to plenty of success. In a more recent time, just ask a guy like Rob Martin. I think Conrad comes back and stays it out at High Point because he too probably realizes that, yeah, we've got something set up right here where we're able to develop our play, improve it, and it's a system that, as a guard that can handle the ball, that can control things, it bodes us well. We can perform really well in the system, and we can also showcase our abilities really well in the system. And as a player, I don't know. I mean, what more can you ask other than also simultaneously having a full team success? I mean, I think you probably want that too. Well, hey, High Point's got it. So for CJ Brown, I think our guard play again sets up this year. I mentioned Trey Pearson. I mentioned Conrad. Well, CJ's a big element to this as well. On ball, off ball, either way, I think that we find him being another one of those guards that once the season passes us by, we can look back to and be like, man, this team, this program, I mean, has had a great lineage of these guys that have come through here. And hopefully, in CJ's case, it's just like Conrad. We were able to hold on to this guy and retain the talent. Yeah, I've watched CJ just in practices. So as we get into some of these newer guys, the amount of time that I've really seen them is a lot more limited than what I have with the returners. But one of the things with CJ that I've just noticed so far is he is a complete professional. He seems to handle himself and go about his business in a rather business-like manner. Very controlled, does his thing. And then all of a sudden, if the situation sets up right, he rises up into the rafters and catches everybody's attention very quickly. I don't have, all I have is statistical things that we could go back and look at. From a shooter's perspective, I don't know that and that's why I love that CJ gave us a self-scout. He's immediately looking actually to the defensive side. So you'll hear his thoughts on that. But I don't have a great grasp on what is CJ's offensive output when it comes to shooting other than the statistics in front of me. And from a three-point perspective, it's hovering 25% during his collegiate career so far. I think he is more apt to be a bit of a slasher style player. Definitely has the skill, the ability to score around the rim and do it in some emphatic ways from what I've seen both in practice and also just some game film. Assists-wise, last year he picked that up in a big way. Almost 5 assists a game. And one of the drills that I remember the team running last year that I don't know if they've done it yet in the practice or not, but it was all about one more. And so when you got a guy like CJ who can dish things around and find guys as a ball handler, again, that's successful guard play. We need that. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day who's filling up the points. It just they need to get on the board. So those are kind of the main key things I've noticed now at 6'2". He's got great size. I think, again, I alluded to the fact that I think he can play definitely on ball, but I anticipate him being off ball as well. We saw those kind of combinations last year where at times it was Conrad and Rob on the floor at the same time. It could be easily Conrad and CJ Brown on the floor at the same time, I think. And they both find ways to run the system. Plays are probably called depending upon, who has the ball and what they're doing. So I think it gives our High Point offense a lot of versatility. So we're going to come up. We're going to take our break. When we come back, I'm probably more excited about CJ's self-scout for what he thinks he's more interested in than all the points, than all the assists, than all the offensive elements. So we'll hear him share that. Plus, like I said, don't forget, triadtalknetwork.com, link in, share it, grab hold of it. We're going to be using it all season long for the Panthers. Plus, Cam and Dan Hauser, a couple of things to stay up to speed on as we start launching 2 Proud Panthers podcasts a week.
High Point University, the premier life skills university, is ranked the #1 best-run college in America by the Princeton Review. Employers value HPU's real-world preparation. Students love unprecedented access to global leaders on High Point's inspiring campus. And parents appreciate HPU's God, family, and country values. Choose to be extraordinary at High Point University.
Joining us here on the Proud Panthers podcast, CJ Brown hanging out with us today. CJ, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's a pleasure to meet you, first off, and welcome to High Point. We are excited to have you moving over from a South Florida team that, quite honestly, was very competitive a year ago. You being a big part of that. I know there's some connections to what now is a big part of us here at High Point as well, and we'll tie those connections together for some people. But so far, what's it been like making the transition for you from a team last year very successful to a team that, again, last year also very successful?
Yeah, definitely the same standards. We hold each other to a high standard. Make everybody take accountability, whether it's the little things or the big things. All those small details matter, and this team definitely keeps the standard, just like my last team last year. I can see why they won in this program.
With your team a year ago in South Florida, was there anything that you were, I guess, surprised by? Because, from a team perspective, y'all went through a lot your freshman year. And coming back for your sophomore season, you've got a new coaching staff. You're a returner, but in this day and age of collegiate athletics, things are going and coming about as fast as you can imagine. But you guys were still able to put together a really good season. Did that at all surprise you?
Maybe a little bit, but how our chemistry was on and off the court, it didn't surprise me that we won. We always wanted to be next to each other, always wanted to be together. And I think it was just the little things that mattered, which led to such a successful team. And my freshman year, losing a key piece, losing our head coach, it was rough for everybody. So we weren't as close as we should have been or could have been because we were all grieving.
I don't want to put you on the spot. Now coming here to High Point, you point to a closeness, a proximity with the team, how you guys work together, and that led to success. Do you feel like we have some of those same makeups again for a roster that's had a lot of turnover here at High Point?
Yes. I can see the same traits. Probably just taking us a little longer to get it, or we might have to do some more activities off the court as a team, but it's definitely coming together. I feel like I'm getting closer with all my teammates and knowing each other better.
So to tie the connection from South Florida to here at High Point, one of those key pieces that help with that would be Ben Fletcher, assistant coach here at High Point, returning with Flynn Clayman for their second season. How important was that for you when you decided to go into the transfer portal and open up your recruitment to have a familiar face, somebody that you already had a history with when you came to make your decision to move to High Point?
It was really important. Me and Coach Fletch go way back. I've probably known him since my sophomore year of high school, so it was very strong connection. Sometimes I wouldn't even look at him as a coach, like more like an uncle or a family member. So knowing somebody that would be here that show me love and just hold me accountable and wants to see me do good was really big in my decision.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting as well. Did you keep a kind of not a focus, but kind of an eye on High Point last year some, or did Coach Fletcher just kind of reach out to you out of the blue and you're like, oh, okay, High Point, yeah, sure.
I watched High Point. I wouldn't say it was for recruitment wise, but I was always keeping up with maybe quote unquote the underdogs of anything, and I saw they were doing good that season. and I knew Coach Fletch was there, so that was a big reason why I was still watching the games, see how he was doing. And we would reach out every now and then, but when he reached out and asked me to come to High Point, I definitely wanted to take that chance and come and see and visit and definitely be with Coach Fletch again.
Yeah, what was I've never had that experience. You know, I came to High Point, stayed all 4 years, and I mean that was kind of the story for me. But when you are looking at changing, you know, your career path, honestly, yeah, for you, what was some of your first experiences like when you came to High Point?
They made me just feel reassured and safe. Like whatever career choice I go into, like they'll help me and put me in the right decision. So I just felt confidence and reassured coming here.
So now that you're here, one of the bigger things that High Point fans, I think, have had a luxury in, man, maybe we'll go back as far as 4 or 5 seasons now, is guard play. I mean, that's been one of the things I feel like during the Allen Huss days and Flynn Clayman right there on that staff as well that we could hang our hat on. You're going to be an integral part to that as well, of course. And so did that help in your recruitment at all, knowing that, hey, this is a place that I've seen some really good guard play, guard development?
Yes, definitely. Coach Clayman definitely knows what he's talking about when it comes to guard play. He's sat me down and shown me film. He showed me my film and previous guards they've had at High Point and their success, and I could see myself doing the same thing. And right now, he's really just developing me and giving me the confidence to go out there and do that on the court.
I'm interested in this because I feel like you know your game best. And I was interested if you wouldn't mind self-scouting a little bit, especially good for college basketball fans as they try to get to know a player. Like what should we expect from CJ Brown?
A lot of energy, defense. I love to play defense. Some high electrifying plays. And really just a love for the game. I'm gonna give it all I got.
I hear you say you love defense, and well, 2 things for me come to mind. One is last year I feel like this High Point team thrived when it forced lots of turnovers and restricted opposing offenses from doing really what they wanted to do. So that's one thing. But the other is not everybody, I don't feel, especially the guys that want the flashy points and assists and high scores, that defense is just kind of a necessity. It's not a desire.
Yeah.
So what about that side of the floor excites you?
Just the tenacity you have to have. I feel like defense is really a skill. It takes a lot of effort, but a little detail, skill can go a long way. And really just shutting down the opposing team, making it hard for them, makes it way easier on offense. So I always say defense leads to offense, and defense wins championship.
You had brought up career and choosing a university, trying to be prepared to get out into whatever the workforce is I know important. But I was curious, would you like to maybe make this your profession, basketball?
Yes, I would love to make basketball my profession. I would love to play and be on the court, but I know there are also different type of responsibilities off the court and behind the scenes that you could do involving basketball. So I would love to play on the court, but I wouldn't mind being behind the scenes too.
So as we get ready for the upcoming season, what are some of the highlights, things that you're looking forward to most? Maybe it's an opponent on the schedule. Maybe it's the Cobain Center environment. What are some things that really get your juices flowing?
I'm really looking forward to our non-conference schedule. We have a lot of big names and big schools that we're ready for. I guess you could say we're quote unquote the underdog, but I think we're going to be perfectly fine. We're going to do great this season. And I'm also waiting for the home games. I heard it gets real loud, a lot of energy. So I'm just waiting to see the fans and see their faces after I dunk or something.
The one last question I had for you was you and Frank both being from Georgia. It's, again, good to have some rapport with somebody, and I'm glad you've got that with Coach Fletcher. How much did you and Frank cross paths, in y'all's upbringing or anything like that, being from the same state?
We used to cross paths a couple of times. We'll play in the same gym I even played him my junior year, and he was a senior. So we used to play in the same gyms a lot, and we used to know the same people.
How much do you remember about that matchup?
I just remember we came out on top.
Do you ever rib Frank about that now?
Sometimes, but he just doesn't really respond.
Seems like a smart move. Probably right. All right, CJ, I appreciate you taking time, man, and hanging out with us here. Looking forward to having you be a part of the Panther family, and looking forward to this season coming ahead.
Thank you so much for having me.
You ain't gotta like me, but my game, you respect it.